Happy Friday, sports fans, and welcome back to FNN Sports Take with me, Kasey Hudson. I'm so stoked to give you guys a couple updates, more on, of course, coronavirus, because I don't want to call it the second wave. I know some people are like weird about it, like don't speak it into existence, don't manifest it, but things are getting pretty bonkers right now with everything with COVID-19. You guys heard my frustration on Wednesday when it was like, this is happening, that's happening. So just prepare yourself because we've got some more updates when it comes to coronavirus. Kicking off with NFL because it's only right. NFL is still expecting to start their training camp on time. July 28th was the start date for that, but there's been a lot of questions coming forth as to if this is realistic. In other words, Commissioner Goodell is being called out to the fact of, are you overseeing this properly? Is there enough protocols and procedures in play? What's going to be signed off on? What's the real story here? What's happening? There's a lot of question marks about everything surrounding the NFL. Well, the most we can do is give you what much information we know due to research and sources. So the governor of Texas was one of the first people to come forth and be like, hey, we're going to have fans. If anything, we can have fans with all outdoor sports. We can manage it. We can make it safe. We can make it work. As of earlier today in a press conference, the governor of Texas started rolling back on some reopenings that took place in Texas. So bars are now shut down as of noon today. He started minimizing the amount of people that can be in restaurants. He is recommending that athletes not only dial back any interaction around facilities, but group training. As we know, the NFLPA released a statement last week saying that they advise that players stop working out together, that they go back to working out individually and isolating. We'll get back to that in just a second because some people are not on board with that recommendation. So if these things are taking place and we still don't have that much information, what is it looking like to adhere to this July 28th start date? The league released earlier this month a 13-page document detailing methods and protocols for maintaining social distancing, minimizing the virus spread at clubs and facilities where teams will be holding training camp. The medical officer of the NFL League has not yet finalized the steps that they will be putting into play to create coronavirus testing, screening, and treatment protocols. Now, it's June 26th. Training camp is July 28th. We are 1 month and 2 days out from what is supposed to be the beginning of the 2020 NFL season. Why has there not been any security in what the protocols and procedures are going to be? Why are they not testing players now, this week, next week? Get it out of the way, figure out who's testing positive, put them in isolation for the 14 days that they're supposed to, because then you're giving yourself 2 weeks, for margins for errors or anything that could possibly pop up rather than getting so close to this start date and then having guys out for 14 days of training camp. Mind you, we told you guys a couple of weeks ago that training camp is already starting a bit earlier than traditionally. So you're kind of working against yourself if you're not going to try to get ahead of the curve. We've got multiple teams that have already started up their seasons or whose training camps are also about to start within the next 14 days. Take a page out of their book. Or as most sources said, things look to be going quite well across the pond with the soccer teams that resume their season. Take a page out of their book. But I feel like we're just waiting for everything to get to that last minute to be like, what are we going to do? Guys should be getting tested now. If anything, you know that these guys have already missed out so much. NFL is a contact sport. They had to do virtual OTAs. These dudes are freaking out. I would be freaking out. So I don't think they're going to want to adhere to going back to individual workouts and not being amongst their teammates to start building that chemistry with one another. So if you test them now, weed out the guys that test positive. The guys that test negative can continue to work out together. But the biggest thing that they have to adhere to is not being social outside of their teammates or their team and organization. I think that would work, but I'm not a doctor. So, and some people are still so skeptical about everything and they're very outspoken about it. For instance, the Saints' Malcolm Jenkins tells CNN, the virus would have to be completely eliminated in order for me to feel comfortable returning to football. Then he proceeds to say, he can say this because football is a non-essential business. Now, if you are on a mega contract or you have secured millions of dollars, or at least you're making $1 million a year, for a extensive amount of time, I think, yeah, you'll have the confidence to say that you need to step back on this one. But think about the younger athletes who are on, small six-figure contracts. We're already going over salary caps coming up for the next season. they're going to have to put themselves in a position to make the money that they have been working so hard towards making. So I don't think it would be that easy for them to be like, yeah, it's a non-essential business. No, it's an essential lifestyle for them because it's their career. So I don't particularly agree with Malcolm Jenkins, only because depending on what your contract looks like, how much money you're making, you're relying on this. Again, it's fantastic that these guys get to do what they love for a living, but it's their career at the end of the day. This is the check that keeps the roof over their head and gas in their tanks. I don't want us to be ridiculous to the fact that, we talked about the guys signing waivers to say you're putting yourself at risk. We have to be realistic to the fact that there's so much going on in this world, or there's so many things that people want to do on a day-to-day basis. Think of the things that people are just not eliminating because it's so natural to them. Like at one point or another, we have to find the best way to go about those normalities safely. Wear your mask, wash your hands. We'll see what happens with that. Jenkins continues to say, we have over 2,000 players and even more coaches and staff. We cannot have all these people in buildings and facilities and just hope that we are adhering to social distancing. Also, he doesn't really trust or have faith in the fact that all players will be adhering to social distancing when they are not at the facility or amongst their teammates. That I can understand because some of the younger guys, or younger people in general, this spike is really taking place because of the younger demographic. They can't sit still. So you can't really trust the younger guys to not be going out, mingling, doing things, telling everybody that they're staying home and isolating and being a potential carrier or spreader of COVID-19. So that one I completely back him up on. Where this is starting to bring us, aside from questioning the start date of training camp, is, of course, the big question that everybody has constantly had split opinions on: will there, can there, how there will be fans in the stands? Well, realistically, sources are saying that they might just leave that to be a team decision or an organization decision. If the Bucks decide that they can adhere to 25% fans being in the stands and they can do so safely, they can have protocols and procedures in play, then they can go forth and do so. I think that might be your best bet because obviously there's a pull in opposite directions on all of these opinions. For instance, how we said earlier in the segment, the Texas governor said, if it's an outdoor sport, have at it. We want fans there. We think that they can be outside and it still be a safe situation. The other question this opens up, though, is we know that training camp is to start weeding down to your 53-man roster. With COVID-19 and the pandemic still being such a huge situation right now, should teams weed down to a 53-man roster, or should they keep an extensive amount of players on standby just in case guys start, popping up with COVID-19 during the season, and then you start getting down to your last leg on your roster? Typically, a 53-man roster consists of 2 quarterbacks, 6 running backs, 6 wide receivers, 4 tight ends, 10 offensive linemen, 7 defensive linemen, 6 linebackers, 9 defensive backs, and 3 specialists. So in some of those categories, you'll see that if 1 or 2 of those guys end up with COVID-19 and they have to be out for 2 weeks, you could be really putting your teams back against the wall. So let us know your opinion if you think, teams should kind of extend that 53-man roster right now. Also, it's going to be hard initially, too, to have a training camp of 90 guys to get to that 53-man roster because they have to bring in extra lockers, but now they have to keep everything 6 feet apart. I'm just stunned that the NFL doesn't have more answers right now because a month is going to fly by like this, and there's still so many unanswered questions. On a bit of a lighter note, Miami Dolphins owner Stephen Ross is committing $13 million to Rise, but some players are not happy with this because, of course, it's unimpressive. They said it's sending mixed signals. How do you contribute to a cause that's trying to weed out racial injustices, but you're also a top contributor to the current sitting president? I'm not diving into all that because I'm not politics, but this is why players are kind of at a draw whether he was genuinely trying to make a difference or not. You guys can leave us your opinions in the comment if you want to. Stick with us as we go to a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll break down some NBA.
I'm not picking it up. You pick it up.
I'm not picking it up.
Well, somebody's got to pick it up.
I'll pick it up. They're clean. 'Cause my hand is clean. Oh yeah, I'm Charmin clean. That's how I know they're clean.
Charmin Ultra Strong is woven like a washcloth and just cleans better.
Yeah, I'm Charmin clean.
The kid does have a point.
My hand is clean. Yeah.
Enjoy the go with Charmin. And for an extra clean finish, try Charmin Flushable Wipes.
I don't know why that commercial doesn't get old to me, and I still chuckle like a child. All right, so for some NBA updates, Vince Carter officially announces his retirement after 22 years in the NBA. The 8-time All-Star player is the first to play in 4 different decades, closing out his career as an Atlanta Hawk. Congratulations to Vincent Carter and his amazing, amazing career. I'm sure he will be enjoying retirement in sunny Florida, and hopefully he'll be able to be in the stands supporting the Tampa Bay Bucks, which is one of his favorite teams. Now, the NBA and the NBAPA finalized terms of the deal that will allow the league to restart. Just think about what I said there for a second. These guys get ready to report to Orlando, Florida on July 7th, and the NBA and NBAPA are just now finalizing the terms of the deal for them to restart properly. This is where I'm just like stunned. There's no fear. There's not much coming up in the fact that there are spikes taking place throughout Florida. There's been about 9,000 brand new COVID-19 cases. They say that they're not worried about that. They're very confident in the bubble method that they have created. And out of 302 tested NBA players, only 16 tested positive for COVID. So if you really look at those numbers, it's not that bad. Like I mentioned a moment ago, the guys do report to Orlando on July 7th. Training camp will take place from July 9th to July 29th, having 3 scrimmages per team. And they started rolling out some information on what the 2020 to 2021 season will look like. Training camp for that is posted to start November 10th, and then that season will take off on December 1st, as long as all things kind of stay where they're at, or hopefully in all of our eyes get better. For some NHL updates, there's not too much going on besides the fact that Vancouver is out of the running for a hub city, leaving 5 cities in the running. In my personal opinion, I think it's going to end up being Las Vegas because, let's be serious, their city needs the money. Their revenue is based off of tourists, and that's taken a huge hit as people are not really doing much traveling still right now. So I think it'll be Las Vegas. That can also honor the Western Conference, and then I think Toronto will represent the Eastern Conference. So, you know, teams like the Lightning, the Panthers, and everyone else will head up to Canada because I know that they want to keep a city in Canada in the running. It only makes sense as the home of hockey, and, you know, for them to protect their revenue in that sport as well. So mark me on that later, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be Toronto and Las Vegas. Commissioner Bettman says that they will not be adopting the bubble theory method. He's not too worried about it, so the training camp will not be quarantine style. He thinks that with the guys coming in and out of the facilities right now to do their training, we said on Wednesday that it went from 6 players on the ice to 12 players on the ice, but that's just on ice sessions. They have to get their temperature checked every time they get on and off the ice. They go through a whole vetting process just to enter the building. So if they're doing all of that there and they're catching whoever might have COVID-19 now and quarantining them before that training camp comes up in the hub cities, Bettman said that he's not too concerned about having a whole nother quarantine once the guys get there. There's only so much you could do because I just always revert back to that fun word, asymptomatic. So it's like you do what you can do. Stick with us as we go to another quick commercial break, and then we break down some MLB on a good note.
At Taco John's, you can expect one thing, so good, as in quality ingredients, used in tacos and burritos made just for you. Every single bite.
So good.
Expect nothing less at Taco John's.
All right, guys. So I have no complaints about the MLB right now. The exciting news was that MLB is back, whether players decide to join in or not. They are doing 60 games, and they are just going to go with it. The other exciting news of all of this is that spring training is 5 days away. Earlier in the week, we know that Florida had to shut down their spring training facilities as well as Texas because of too many players testing positive for COVID-19. They should be good to reopen within the 5 days that spring training is supposed to start. As the Lightning had to shut down their facilities, they only did so for 5 days to sanitize, make sure that, you know, there's more procedures, safety protocols in place. So I think they'll be fine to resume with everybody else. What they also will do is they're just going to keep the teams to their home stadium. There's no point in trying to get everybody traveling to one area or multiple areas and they don't want to adopt the bubble theory either. I think it's just more manageable at this point. If you think about how many baseball teams there are, how many players are on a roster, just, you know, have the vetting situation at your stadium and figure it out there. The unfortunate news with the MLB is that Dodgers and Twins now have brand new reports of positive COVID cases of players on their teams. So we're praying that these guys have a speedy recovery so that they can join in on all the fun because MLB is back. For NASCAR, New Hampshire Motor Speedway will allow fans in grandstands and suites for the August 2nd NASCAR Cup Series race. That's really exciting because we'll get to learn some stuff on how they have fans coming in, how, what happens after the fact, what the results of having fans in the stands looks like, feels like. It gives us something to hold on to of hopes to learn from. So fans will be subject to social distancing requirements and additional health and safety protocols. New Hampshire Motor Speedway modified protocols will include social distancing in grandstands, concession lines, limited guests in the suites, and infield admission for race team and operational personnel only. So fans will not be on the infield, which makes sense because it just gets pretty cluttered down there. It's kind of hard to manage what's going on because it's such an expansive track. Like you wouldn't know. I think that they can manage the social distancing when it comes to being in rows. Don't book people in seats row by row. Have an open row in between. Seat only families or people that book tickets together, and they're their own problem. So I think they can manage that situation quite well. And to follow suit, Indy 500 will be allowing 50% of fans' capacity to come back in August as well. Now onto some soccer. We were 12 days away from the MLS tournament kickoff on July 8th through August 11th. 26 clubs breaking down this tournament, and you will catch us doing a lot more breakdowns or close coverage to the teams that we've usually followed or covered, Orlando City Soccer, and brand new team that we were supposed to cover, International Miami FC. So we will be breaking down a lot of information for Group A of this tournament, which is Orlando City Soccer, International Miami, New York City FC, Philadelphia Union, Chicago Fire FC, and Nashville SC. We cannot wait for this to kick off. And of course, they have to put us on pins and needles because one of the first games is Orlando City versus International Miami. How do you vote? How do you cheer against that? Aside from who you cover and have to break down and do your job for, it's like Orlando City Soccer is one of the first major soccer teams here you've been following, but then it's David Beckham's team. Who cheers against David Beckham? I would be so crazy to do that. Now, with a heavy heart, I unfortunately have to announce with some excitement in my voice that Liverpool broke their title drought since 1990, winning Premier League. Congratulations to the Reds. If you watch Premier League and you're not a Liverpool fan, you know how hard that was for me to just have all those congratulatories come out of me to the best of my ability. So yes, congrats to the Reds. They broke the drought. We'll see what happens next year. I made a very unique joke to my coworkers earlier that I said that I'll get a lot of crap from other people because there was so much chatter about if any resuming seasons, title winners, champions for this year during everything with COVID, if we just put an asterisk next to it, they kind of won it, but maybe not. So this is my asterisk. Don't hate me too much, people. I struggle. I'm an Arsenal fan, and this was hard for me to say. But congratulations to Liverpool nonetheless. Guys, this is it for us tonight. Make sure you catch us Monday at 8 p.m. as we give you more updates, more breakdowns, and hopefully we will be diving a little bit deeper into NFL and just have some information and some answered questions for you guys. I know I'm dying for them here, but that's hopes for Monday's segment. Per usual, stay safe, stay sane, stay kind, stay compassionate, and have a great weekend. I'll see you guys Monday at 8 p.m.